What's your color? I wanna know. What's your color? I wanna know. What's your color?
The Lab Productions. We're talking the science. You're tuned in with Zaki Bhika.
I could be red, or I could be yellow, I could be blue, or I could be purple.
You tuned in to the Zaki Bhika show, and as usual, our podcast is here to empower and uplift the women in our community. So you need to get in touch with us via email, via Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. BK, drop it down. With us in studio today is Mumtaz Mahal Suleiman. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Thank you, Zakira, for having me
Jazakallah.
back at the lab.
Jazakallah so much. It's such an honor to have you. Mumtaz is a mom of three, the author of I'm Not a Bling Bling Mop, and which is currently the rave right now. Also, Mumtaz is involved in justice and empowerment projects. Thank you so much for gracing our studios.
Barakallah, the pleasure's mine, Zakira.
So, Mumtaz, we had an interview before we discussed the book. Today we're going to just discuss about other issues. You spoke out. Tell me about, was there any backlash?
Yes. As expected, every time a person wants to stand up and take their power back, you are going to experience backlash.
Yes.
And I think that's the reason so many people stay stuck and don't speak out and don't want to come out with their stories, because they face judgment, four-way judgment. The first is the abuser themselves, because, well, I was in a better position, but most people stay stuck because they're afraid of their lives. If they speak out, then the abusive partner could kill them.
Yes.
They stay stuck because of what will the family say.
Yes.
You know?
Both sides, your family and the
and the abusers, yes. More so, I think you facing a lot of judgment from the abuser's family because why did she speak out?
Yes.
Is it a publicity stunt? Does she want to make money from it? I ask them, which author you know makes money from
Absolutely.
books?
Writing.
From writing.
Writing is a humble job.
And so they afraid to speak out. Also, it's fear-based. Also coming back to where will I go? What will I do? What will the people say?
Yes.
You know, people have been very unkind and have very cruel, because most women like me would stay stuck in these relationships because of the narrative. It's fear-based.
Yes.
That fear is linked to the very first narrative that created our belief systems. And said that if you speak out, you know, there's so many people that go through abuse, and why do you have to speak about it? We made sabr.
Yes.
And then I have only one question to say, does that make it right? Are you condoning it? Because what kind of generations are we raising? We need to change that narrative.
Yes. Break these generational curses.
We have to do that.
So, Mumtaz, more than the fear, why do victims of abuse stay silent?
More than the fear.
Or what are the
Zakira,
other reasons that they stay silent?
For me, basically, I think it's just down to a belief system of fear. Where to go, what to do, what will the people say, and also living in a comfort zone.
Yes.
So many people who moved my cheese. It's okay. Something new is daunting for them, so they'd rather stay where they are without taking their power back. And then a lot of people also get used to that serving. So again, it's back to the narrative. I've been brought up this way. It's a belief system. I need to just stick it out and I need to keep quiet. But most of the time I find it's a comfort zone.
It is.
When women phone me and they tell me I've been in this situation, and I tell them, but you've been calling me with this problem for the last 5 years.
Yes.
Why don't you change? And I've given you the tools, or you've read the book now, and you're still not choosing change because you're afraid you're used to that comfort zone. Waking up every morning, having somebody lead you, somebody tell you what to do.
Yes. Okay, so Mumtaz, you spoke out. Do you think your daughters are going to have a better life because you stood up?
Absolutely.
Do you think that makes a difference?
Absolutely. I think when we take our power back, and one person, it just takes one person to shift. So for me, if I shifted and I changed the way my children will be thinking, acting, speaking, their children have a better chance. And I mean, I see it in my home because we're 4 generations in the home. Mummy's stuck. I've made the changes. Nurain was my school fees. So she's still in the learning process. However, her son, who is my grandson, wakes up with better choices now. So he would rather eat the vegetable than the toxic food. He would choose better friends. He wakes up with affirmations. He has all the tools in place. So that tells you that the next generation is really going to set the way for a new narrative.
So, I'm getting goosebumps with what you've said now. So that means it's an obligation on us to change things, to make it better for the grandchildren.
We have to do it. It begins at home. In the schools, at workplaces, because it's really no use that the schools have evolved a lot. Schools are starting to have moral studies, and they're teaching them that ethics is far important is the first thing to be taught before politics or science or economics or languages or anything, arts, right? So when they learn ethics, and they learn to value themselves, and if it's not happening at home, then somewhere the link is broken. The chain is going to break.
Absolutely. You mentioned something nicely, that your grandson has better choices. So it's so nice that it's a male that's changing the environment or changing the narrative, as you call it.
Absolutely. Now take the same child in another home that hasn't evolved their spirit and hasn't put the purpose of humanity or empathy first. That child is learning to judge very easily because he's still stuck with the old narrative. So he walks into a classroom, or he walks into the school or into a workplace, and he's judging the woman who speaks out because there hasn't been any change made in his home. So it's really so critical for, I always say, the woman is the light of the house. And she needs to stand up, wake up, take her power back and say, I believe in myself. I believe in a source, because when we don't have any form of belief, we're really nothing. We need to trust. So they taught us everything wrong. They taught us with fear. And they said, if you speak out, you're going against your religion, because women are meant to serve them. Be submissive and serve. And so this woman, who is brought up believing that I need to trust, my Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so great, or my Lord is so great. He's created us all the same. We all created in equality. And fact, there's respect in this communication.
And in fact, we have a greater standing in Islam. Women have a greater standing in Islam. Okay, Mumtaz, what are the repercussions of silence? Keeping quiet, what is going to happen? How is that going to become a banana peel?
Banana peel? Well, if you're going to swallow instead of speaking up, then unfortunately you're really breaking yourself. You're going to wake up with all these emotions every single day. The anger, the anxiety, fear. And then you're also not setting any grounding for your family, for your children, for the generations after you. I always say women need to ask themselves, or people need to ask themselves, what's their purpose? So if your purpose is to stay silent, then you're really not giving a voice to the next person. So by you speaking up and taking your power back, you're helping others.
Silence is a form of oppression as well. So another question that, people, like, if you're not going through this, you don't simply understand, why do women stay in toxic and abusive relationships?
Most of the time, I would imagine the women I'm dealing with currently that have come out with the book is financial issues. So there was a a particular lady that had been beaten. I mean, every year she's beaten. And I'd spoken to her and I said, but this time it's really a severe case. I mean, the man, your husband's broken your leg and we're to from here. I said, but what's holding you back? So she says, finances. I said, is there something that you do? And she said, well, yes, I do have a small home business. So I'm appealing to people. It's a project that we started based on this woman's story. We're saying support these kind of women so that they feel empowered. And it makes them want to wake up every morning and say, okay, fine, I'm not going to be shy to go and stand at a pop-up. So if we, as communities, provide support for these kind of toxic relationships for the women to empower themselves, and we support them. So I am saying you don't have to walk past the woman and say, I have 100 pots, I don't need another pot.
Yes.
I'm saying buy the pot and give it for charity.
Someone else, yes.
Give it to a shelter. They may need the pots. And if you cannot afford to buy that whole set yourself, get together with a group of friends and say, okay, let's each put in $100 or $200. Let's support this woman. So she goes home feeling empowered, and it's going to give her that kind of zest and boost for the next day to say, okay, fine, I'm going to pick up my pieces. At least she's earning an honest living. And she needs to know that it's okay to be selling the cosmetics or the pots.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with that.
I've been noticing your new small business initiative, and I think it's such a great thing to, empower and help other females instead of being in competition and just, Mumtaz, besides that, how else can communities help the lost and the broken?
Education, changing the narrative again. So we need to, if we change our perspective, then we change the narrative.
Okay.
So I strongly believe that this education has to be passed in every school, in every madrasa, in the workplaces. It's the very tools we discuss in the book. And I still stick by it because for me, that is the new narrative. That is the blueprint for a more successful, abundant life. Because when you have your prayer, your meditation, your exercise, your eating healthy, your gratitude, your forgiveness in place, everything else is going to work around it.
Okay.
Your energy changes.
Yes.
When your energy changes, then you become a magnet for abundance. You start attracting the right things, the right people into your life, because now you've become completely spiritual.
Yes.
Everything becomes spiritual. It's not just chasing. We have this we wake up with humanity doesn't support each other.
Yes.
We need to wake up every day and say, okay, I am happy for what Zakira is doing. I'm going to support her venture because there are so many people benefiting from this venture. But our people, we don't do that. We want to compete because Zakira cannot be better than I am. And it's not about that, because at the end of the day, we're all going to leave everything behind. Absolutely. And when we go up there and we face our maker, the only thing we've taken is, how have I served others? I want for my brother what I want for myself.
Yes.
I don't want, when I did this book and when I left this, when I spoke out, my intention was for women not to struggle the way I did. I struggled, I hustled, I did a lot of things to try and make myself independent. But it's only when my energy changed that I started attracting all the right people to make a success of my life. And I want women to know that if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Okay, I'm going to be devil's advocate here now, right? You say you've hustled and you did everything. For a woman that out there that's going through this seems very far-fetched now. How do you get to the state that you are in?
There are platforms available. That woman has to feel strong enough. And until she doesn't make the decision, unfortunately, we cannot help her. Nobody can help her. And sometimes that really breaks me because I'm such an empathetic person. I'm like, why is she staying stuck there? She's being bullied. But I've learned now to let go and realize that everyone's an entrustment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We can't save the world. So that woman, we're hoping that she watches shows like yours that's going to give her a little bit of a boost to say, okay, fine. So when someone's watched your show or listened to something, in a show like yours or anybody else's that's promoting this freedom of choice for women, there's something that snaps in a woman that could be listening to it. So don't ever feel that these shows are a waste of time, because every time I've had an interview, I've had somebody that reached out to me, maybe not directly, or they've had a friend that reached out and said, we watched this interview, where can we get help? And now we've developed, like, I know there's lots of NPOs and there's lots of women's forums. So I think they need to be directed. Let's say they get in touch with you. You need to just direct them and say, look, which area are you based in? These are the people you can contact. Or perhaps get in touch with us.
Yes.
And tell us, this person's trying to reach out. And what I like to do is, I probably give them a phone call, a friendly phone call, and say, let's do a coffee or something.
Yes.
And then in that coffee, we get chatting.
Yes.
And then I start building on their confidence. And I have lots of people that come home now, even though I've said that I'm not going to be doing this anymore because it's really been taking a lot of my energies.
Yes.
It's zapping me. However, it's something that I need to do, because if somebody comes to you and says, listen, I need help, I'm there to help them. So what I do is, on a typical day, like let's say yesterday I had somebody over. So she comes in, I spend an hour doing her some healing.
Yes.
To balance her chakras. And then we have a little chat, and she tells me, I just listened to her, and she goes on and tells me, so I ask her, okay, fine, you want to change. These are the things, these are the tools, the homework I'm giving you. And now before she leaves me, I make her read her Zohar Salah, so that she feels good. And I teach her how to read it, to plug in. And be spiritual.
Yes.
And I tell her that, you know what, when you are in sujood and you want to cry, cry, because that's letting go of your emotion.
Yes.
And then I give them homework to go back with home to. So then I see people like this once a week. And there's so many people like me that do it. So there are a few ladies that teamed up with me and volunteered their services, which makes it easier. So we just want ladies to know that there is help out there. And even for the abusers need to know that it's okay. There is place for them to go and take accountability.
Yes.
They need to change their energy. And your energy can only change when you're doing this work.
Mumtaz, can an abuser change?
I believe so. My husband was proof of it.
Okay.
Not all the time.
Yes.
The person who doesn't change, the woman is not a tree. She has to walk away from there. That person is toxic. That person can be dangerous. His family have to step in and take over and direct him to the rehabilitation that he may need. Because until they don't step out of denial, then their sons or their grandsons are always going to be
in that same position.
In the same position.
So you seem to be very, very content, alhamdulillah, though I'm getting this aura of peace and contentment, mashallah. What is the secret to this inner peace after being through all this hustling and the pain and the struggling? What is the secret, Mumtaz?
Changing the perspective, and that changes the order.
Okay, break it down.
My secret, I've shared it on every interview, and I'm not going to change it. I'm still maintaining that that's the secret. You have to pray to something. You don't have to be Muslim to pray. You don't have to take your mat out to pray, but you need to be talking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or to God or to a source every single day. You need to let your work or your daily routine revolve around your tools. So you need to pray. You need to meditate. Our minds are too busy.
Too busy, I agree.
Always thinking about what's going to happen, and that creates, it's unfortunately a source of anxiety. So in order to eradicate that anxiety, you need to spend 20 minutes meditating. Clear the head.
Right.
You have to have an exercise routine. Even if it's walking for 30 minutes, if you can't get to the gym, walk for 30 minutes, dance, but have some kind of activity. I like to have my activity done with my tasbih.
Yes.
Because then at the same time I'm doing the
zikr.
necessary zikrs or tasbihs I have to polish my inside.
Yes.
You know, we spend so much of time beautifying this and we don't have enough time polishing
Absolutely.
the inside.
Absolutely.
Nutrition is so important because what you feed your body is going to it'll have an impact. Because if you're going to be eating a burger, you're really going to feel bloated and you don't want to go to the gym.
Yes.
So you need to have good nutrition, you need to do gratitude, and you need to do forgiveness. So the very people who criticize me, I don't see them with eyes of hatred or vengeance. I forgive them.
Okay.
Because I know they're going through some kind of pain.
Yes.
And it's not my place to teach them. They will arrive at the lessons when they are ready to. So I make sure I forgive every single person. And you know what? When you're polishing your inside, it starts surfacing on the outside. My mother used to always tell me, when you're young, you get the face that nature gives you. And when you're old, you get the face you deserve.
Wow.
And when I look around, I say it's so true, hey, because this here reflects here.
Absolutely.
And when we start doing these things, you'll find that your work gets easier for you, whether you're just a housewife or you're going to an office or you're going to school, everything comes much easier to you.
Mumtaz Mahal and her team are prepared to offer us an exclusive holistic healing workshop right here in our community. So, to the first 30 viewers that contacts us and tells us why you need to attend this workshop, it's yours, totally free of charge. Yes, you heard correct. A full 3-hour exclusive holistic healing workshop to gain tools to handle any form of trauma or distress you are unable to get through. Ladies, get typing.
Wow. Tell us about this, Mumtaz.
That's our gift for you, a complete holistic empowerment healing workshop, completely free, so that you have the tools to empower yourself. Whether you don't necessarily have to come from an abusive, toxic relationship. You could be divorced, widowed, or just dealing with any kind of challenge. Take advantage of this free workshop. Your gift.
Wow, that's your opportunity to meet Mumtaz Mahal, the author of I'm Not a Bling Bling Mop, and you will be given the tools to manage this challenging life that we're dealing with. So take advantage of this opportunity. We hope to hear from you soon. That's it for the Mumtaz Mahal episode. Catch us next week for another exciting episode. And remember, we want to hear your stories. Stay in touch with us via Facebook, email, Instagram, and YouTube.